Hello, welcome to Record Time. Record Time is a weekly Akashic experience where we explore simple and mysterious themes through the lens of the Akashic Records. If you are new here, welcome. And perhaps you haven't heard of the Akashic Records before. And if you're curious as to what they are, I invite you to check out my website, minaruchi.com. And there you'll find 2 videos that explain how I perceive the Akashic Records, what they are from my experience, and what an Akashic Record reading is and how it can be of support. So that's always a good place to start if you're curious. And for now, we'll just take a moment to arrive here. You can take a deep breath. If it's safe and accessible, and if you wish to, you can close your eyes. And just gift yourself the next few moments to do nothing, which is always a treat. I'm going to listen in to see what the Akashic Records have to share with us this week. And then I'll let you know. Sometimes in the waiting, we can create our own demise. Ooh, that sounds like oddly ominous. Sometimes in the waiting, we can create our own demise. What does that mean? If you have ever tried to make something happen diligently, with effort, maybe every day you're taking steps towards it. Oftentimes in a creative process, there's a period where you're waiting for it to happen. You've done the work, you keep doing it, you keep showing up for it, but it seems like nothing is happening. And it's in that phase where you've done the work, or perhaps you're still doing the work, but you've done like a lot of work. I can't think of the word, but you've done like a good chunk of work and still nothing is showing up. And you could apply this to all kinds of things. So I'm going to keep it broad in the way that I am like speaking about it. So you've done a lot of work and yet nothing is happening. And it's in that space between doing a lot of the work and the moment you get the result, that gap, that waiting is what they're talking about. It's in that space we can create our own demise. So again, what does that mean? It's almost like that space, that like short space in the process. Because if you look at the grand scheme of the work that you put in, how much time it took to create whatever it is you're creating, the space between the work and the result is actually pretty small, but it can often feel like the most agonizing and excruciating part of the process, even though it's actually not that long time-wise. And it could vary for each like specific instance. So that like short period could be like months. And so it's not like super tiny all the time, but maybe you've been putting years of work in and that waiting period is just a few months. So again, I know it's a little bit vague, but stay with me. So it's in that space of waiting that we can lose all of our momentum and all of our faith that it's going to happen and create the opposite of everything that we've been working towards. It's in that space of waiting that we can undo everything we have so diligently created thus far. And it feels like there's more to this, so I'm gonna take a moment to pause and see what else they want to share. Yeah, they're saying just because things are quiet doesn't mean nothing's happening. And so it's almost like that space is really like a forge for strength and trust. If you can get through that space, you will really get a clear picture of how strong your faith is and how deep your trust is in the process, in the universe, and in yourself mostly. So if you find yourself in that liminal space and you feel like nothing's happening, and maybe you can like trust for a little bit, like at first you don't like immediately just spiral into like, oh my gosh, nothing's happening, let me just give up on it. Maybe you like last, if this waiting period is months, maybe you last like 2 weeks before you start to feel a little bit nervous about it. And if that happens, if you arrive at the moment where you're like, okay, yeah, nothing is happening, and things start to kind of crumble internally and maybe externally, that isn't like a bad thing. It's not bad that you're feeling doubt. Doubt isn't like a bad thing. It's just showing you that there's room to grow. And then maybe next time it happens, you'll last 3 weeks before the doubt creeps in, or whatever it might be. So they're just showing us, they're offering us this perspective that when that moment of waiting comes, be prepared for the doubt to come too. That like space where you're not really exerting and doing a lot of action, but the result isn't quite there yet. That is the perfect time where doubt likes to really creep in and make itself known. So just be prepared for that and almost like not expect it, but just if it shows up, don't be surprised. And when it shows up, remind yourself that it's okay. And perhaps that doubt can actually serve as a signal that things are happening. If you're feeling doubt because nothing is happening, continue to take the steps in spite of the doubt. The doubt can come too, it's not a problem. But just keep going and remind yourself that things are moving in your favor. It is working. The process does work. But in almost any process, you're not really going at the same speed all the time. And if you look at like nature or any system really, nothing is going like at the same pace 100% of the time. There's like waves of acceleration. The acceleration changes. So yeah, you might be going at a certain pace, things might be moving, and then there might be a lull, and that's okay. Like things, processes and creative processes especially have rhythms. So if nothing is happening, it's okay. Keep going, and don't let that period of waiting be a catalyst for your own demise. Don't just stop because it looks like nothing is happening. Don't just work yourself up into such a frantic state that you undo everything that you've done. Don't let the doubt, that moment of waiting, work itself up so much that you undo everything you've done. The doubt can be there, but don't let it be your demise. I hope that made sense. If you have questions about this, because again, I felt like I was speaking about it a little bit broadly as a process or an experience. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. You can leave a comment or send me a message either on Instagram or on my website. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you. All right, I'm going to leave you there for today. And until next time, I'm wishing you well. Namaste.